Hello friends, Adam here with FED. Before we start today's discussion, I just want to remind you that we will be streaming here on the YouTube channel on FED all day, April 20th, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be playing every game in the series, every Fire Emblem game, to celebrate the 30th anniversary of our favorite series. So please come hang out for that. It's going to be a great time. And yeah, on to the discussion. Alright, so today I want to talk about class changing in Three Houses. It's something that I've covered ad nauseum. I feel like I've covered almost every aspect of it, and other channels have too. But there's something that still kind of bothers me about the way people think about the classes they pick. And there's actually two things I want to touch on. Number one is certifying into a class does not mean you have to spend time in that class. And there are benefits to doing that. We'll go over that. And number two is it's okay to change to a lower tier class if it meets a specific need you have for a map. So let's start with number one. It's okay to certify into a class and not actually use the class in battle. For instance, someone astutely pointed out in a video prior where I said Thief is a waste of time and Trickster is actually a pretty good class. They pointed out that, well, to get Trickster, you have to certify into Thief first, which is 100% true. You need to, I think it's like the only class that requires you to certify into another class to get into it, Trickster being that class. So you need to have a Thief certification. And they said, but you said Thief was a waste of time and Trickster was good. Isn't that kind of dumb? And while I didn't think of that at the time, I do still believe that Thief is a waste of time. Sure, you'll spend is it 1,000 or 5,000 gold on an intermediate seal, and you'll have to wait an extra week in between your promotion to Trickster because you'll have to certify into Thief beforehand or whatever. That's all true, but I still think it's okay to just certify that, but then also to certify into another intermediate class that's better or has a better mastery skill specifically is what I mean. Like mercenary. I'd even like if you have the sword thing going on and you want I'm going to be a sword person, I would argue it's still better to just go into mercenary for vantage rather than thief for steal, because really most good items that are in the game are droppable or they come from chest. They're very rarely something you need to steal. I can't even think of an instance off the top of my head where I wish I had steal equipped at any time. So that's just, I don't think Thief is worth it in that instance. So it's okay to certify into a class and not spend any time with it. Another example of when this might be effective is early game. I know a lot of people used to suggest this. I haven't heard it talked about as much anymore. But certifying your mages into Armor Knight to get a defense boost. Because when you promote, every class has stat minimums or bases that that if the unit isn't already at those, it raises their stats to those. So if you want to boost in defense for your squishy units, you teach them armor and axes, so they go into an Armor Knight and they get 12 base defense right away or something. It's something close to that. It's 10 or 12. And but you probably don't want Lysithea spending any time in Mage. I mean, in outside of Mage, I should say. In Armor Knight. You want her to do other stuff. So that's another instance where certifying doesn't equal I have to spend time in this class. Now, I want to move on to number two now, which I think I'm a little more passionate about number two. I think this one's really cool. It's okay to use non-master classes, and it's okay to use it's even okay to use non-advanced classes in the endgame. There's very few that I think actually can work in the endgame as far as intermediate classes go, but pretty much every advanced class is good enough for a maddening endgame in any mode. So here's where this would come into play. I'm not saying, keep someone as a Pegasus Knight for the entire game just because. No, you can move on to Falcon Knight or whatever else, but it's and in my case, I had at a time when I had Leone as a Pegasus Knight for a while, but then I decided I think it was halfway through the playthrough, I was I want to focus on bows, I want to get point blank volley and get to Bow Knight. And so I worked on that and I got there, but then I realized that the extra 2 movement that Bow Knight gives over Pegasus Knight wasn't worth it in a lot of Golden Deer Endgame's maps, where there was a lot of terrain to go through, especially the final map of Golden Deer or Verdant Wind, where you fight, I won't say the name of the guy just in case you guys don't know. I mean, the game's been out for a while, but just in case. But yeah, like, so I realized I had her as a Bow Knight, and then I was like, actually, I think I'd prefer to have the extra movement of Pegasus Knight. And by extra movement, I mean being able to ignore negative terrain effects to fly over like swamp and lava and whatever else. So that was what I did. I would switch between Bow Knight and Pegasus Knight depending on the map. And this was beautiful. I still had her use bows as her primary weapon even when in Pegasus Knight. But and it worked great, honestly. Like she didn't miss the bow fair all that much in the chapters where I had her go Pegasus Knight. So that's just something to consider. So to go over them again, number 1, just because you certify into a class doesn't mean you absolutely need to spend time in it. There are reasons to certify other than to actually use the class, even though that's the primary use, of course. And it is okay to use lower tier classes than what you have at your disposal at that moment. Again, it's okay to go down to an advanced class or even an intermediate class in special cases if it'll fit the map better or fit the situation you're in better than the advanced class you are in or the master class you're in currently. So that's just some food for thought, something to consider, something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I am honestly pretty passionate about. And I just wanted to throw that out to you guys, because a lot of us get so hung up on what class route do we send a unit down, and get so stuck on this unit is going to be this thing, when units in Three Houses can be so versatile and so fluid at times that you don't need to look at it that way. So I think that's going to be it for today. So thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Make sure to like this video for visibility purposes, help the community grow. And of course, comment your thoughts. How do you handle class changing in Three Houses? How do you decide what to do? And finally, don't forget the stream Monday, April 20th for the 30th anniversary of our favorite series, Fire Emblem. We're going to be streaming all day. It's going to be a blast. Thanks, guys.